Lori and Downtown Dog Rescue were the first in Los Angeles and among the first in the nation to challenge that thinking. To say that powerful human-animal bonds exist across neighborhoods and classes, and that those who struggle to care for their pets deserve help, not blame. To insist that there's a difference between protecting animals and blaming humans without resources for failing to care for them. That pets didn't fill shelters because bad people failed them, as much as because owners in poverty were in situations that doomed them to fail. To understand this more complicated animal-human tale, I spent many hours with Lori, and I also volunteered at some community pet care clinics that Downtown Dog Rescue held in Skid Row and perennially underserved South LA. I sat with Lori's second-in-command, Amanda Casares, at the busy animal shelter that serves one of the city's poorest neighborhoods, and witnessed the way tangible help enabled low-income families in crisis to hold on to their pets. I spoke to people who'd known and worked with Lori and other rescuers, a few of whom I followed on their visits to local shelters. I interviewed academics, veterinarians, housing attorneys, humane movement honchos, and one accused animal hoarder. Early one Saturday, I drove 50 miles east to observe the arrival and handover of several dozen Shih Tzus that had been rescued from a breeder-hoarder. The sight of them, their hair so long, matted and knotted with filth they could barely move, was unforgettable, as was their stench. All were placed in new homes. I visited the idyllic Best Friends Animal Sanctuary in Kanab, Utah, and passed many hours in my far less scenic home office following rescue feuds and debates on Facebook. Early in the project, my family adopted Pinta, a young Rottweiler and shelter veteran. Toward its end, we cried as we let go of the now aged Casey. I also watched as Lori's place in the wider humane movement changed. For a long time, she was a little-known outlier with dangerously wacky ideas. Sterilize a dog and then return it to an unhoused owner? That's not what a rescuer does, a woman once shouted at her on a downtown street. As Lori's visions became programs that built a safety net cradling both animals and vulnerable humans and kept tens of thousands of animals out of shelters and with the people who loved them, she was instead considered an innovator and selfless community activist. Several people described her to me as the Mother Teresa of Los Angeles, the kind of honorific that makes her cringe. During these years, the larger movement had come to realize something Lori understood early on. In 21st century America, even a simple story about needy dogs and cats is part of a larger one about inequality, race, class, and gender. A great deal of animal suffering is inextricably tied to the suffering of humans. You can't talk about one without the other.